Then we'll just continue on with the organizational.
Okay, I guess we're sworn in, so if that's all right with the Mayor Pro Tem, I'll take
Yes.
over. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item is approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes, and I don't mean the people in the committees, but on the agenda as written here, changes or additions? Hearing none, a motion to approve? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have nothing under the consent agenda, so move on to public comment. This time reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any? Seeing none, we'll move on to department reports. There's none at this time. Previously discussed business, none. The new business, number 6, is the committee and the board appointments. And we'll start with the city attorney. We'll go down to the official newspaper. There's another items. Read through them, and then we'll get to that point, and then we'll ask for a motion and a second vote on them, and then we'll go down into the commissions and the different committees. City attorney, Flattery and Hood. City engineer, Matt Wolf, SEH. City financial advisor, Northland Securities. Bond counsel, Kennedy and Graven. City attorney, Clifton Larson Allen. The city funds depository, First National Bank of Moose Lake. Official city newspaper, Star Gazette. Open for any discussion or questions or a motion.
Make a motion to approve those with the exception of clearing up its city auditor.
You said city attorney.
Did I say city attorney? Thanks for the correction.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Going down into the next planning commission, we have one opening, which is Joanne Unsen. Did we?
So Joanne would like to stay on, and Keith Carlson will also be replaced by whomever from the Water and Light.
Okay.
But yes, Joanne would like to stay on for
Okay.
her expiration.
That's right. We got to remember Keith has stepped down from the Water and Light, so. And they do want a member on that position was formed for the Water and Light. Where should we go down here? We'll continue on till we get down to the city officers and officials, and I should state that first, and then we'll approve the ones that have asked to come on to the boards. Next is the Economic Development Authority, Yvonne Skelton. Her term is up.
Yep, she would like to stay on.
Okay. The Zoning Administrator, that's Katie. Housing Redevelopment Authority, we have 2 people, Catherine Wexeth and Joni Morsery.
Joanne Morrissey, yep, they
They
both.
they
yep.
both want to go on, stay on, okay. Parks and Recreation Board, we have a number of them. First, there's 2 council members that wanted to change committees. And Greg Sarvla is coming off the Park and Recreation Board. And you do want to go back, or you want to go on to the Park Board?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Lauer onto the Parks and Recreation, and the Cemetery Board. Down below we show Walt Lauer, and that's Greg will go on to the cemetery board. That's correct, Greg, right?
Yes.
All right. Going back to Park Recreation, we have Ross Stewart, Barney Hollis, Gray Noline, Lowell Urban.
Do they all want to stay on? I didn't
Yep.
contact them, okay. That's kind of what I thought.
All of them want to stay on.
Okay.
The library board, Sharon Sarvala, Dave, would you rather have it Sarvella, because I've heard it both ways now.
Any way you want. Depends if you want to be a true Finlander or not.
Sarvella,
Arvola.
Sarvella. Because I've heard you correct people on,
Oh, that too.
okay. And then, and Dave also in the library, does he want to stay on it also?
No, I thought wasn't there a,
So.
We have letters.
So Dave, I didn't contact Sharon, but does Sharon want to stay on? Okay. The Karen Johnson would like to replace Gail Lundgren, and Gail no longer wants to be on the library board, so she was okay with
Okay,
that.
so the name again?
Karen Johnson. Yes, Karen Johnson is replacing Gail.
Very good. The cemetery board, June Mackey.
She would like to stay on.
Okay. Public Utilities Commission, Keith Carlson is coming on, and we have Mr. Skelton, which his letter is in, far back here, correct?
Yep.
So we have Doug and myself and Kurt. You sure no, Greg, last chance? Or Doug? Okay. Fire Department Board, Walt, you still want to stay on the library, fire district? Thank you.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, at that time, I'd like to approve those committees.
I'll make a motion, we approve those committees as stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. The next list is the city officers and officials. Mayor Pro Temp, Doug? Still?
I'm fine, standard.
Now, weed and tree inspector, any volunteers?
Not that you had.
That falls on you by
Yeah.
statute,
Yeah,
actually.
as is.
Just asking. There's volunteerism. Katie.
No, thank you.
Safety officer, Phil Etner. Waste management director, Phil. Building official inspector, Andrew Sharp, Township End Range, still. Animal control officer, Moose Lake Police Department. Thank you very much. Board of Health, Gateway Clinic, physicians. Emergency preparedness, myself. Cable Television Public Access Director, Roy Buckwitz. The Municipal Liquor Store, Doug Jutman and Greg Sarvala, still on the board. Police Protection, Chris.
Yep.
Administrative Committee, Chris, myself, still active. Cable Television Commission and Communications Tech Committee. I am under there because I don't think anyone wanted to volunteer unless we have a new volunteer. Walt? No. Okay, Chamber of Commerce, myself, Walt, still on the
Yes.
chamber. Very good. Minnesota Department of Corrections Advisory Committee, myself and Chris.
Yep.
Active Living Coalition, myself and Doug. We've been very active in that committee.
We have, and you're doing a great job.
All right, getting down to the city administrator and department directors. The city administrator, city clerk, treasurer. Now, are we gonna change that?
You can,
I just kidding.
you can, absolutely.
Katie Blue.
I thought you meant like change my title. I was like, okay.
We could make it a little interesting here.
You could, yeah.
Deputy Clerk, Finance Director, Melissa. Electronic Fund Transaction Designation, Melissa. Public Works Superintendent, Phil Etner. Chief of Police, Darren Jutman. Municipal Liquor Store Manager, Elaine Henniger. Library Director, now that
That's
is
actually gonna be Laura Helwig.
Laura Helwig. Motor Vehicle Department Register, Karen Deline. Do we have a motion on those city officers and officials?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Does everybody know the change in the library director? Trying to mention it now that change has been made. I don't know if the council is aware, everyone.
Isn't it on
We'll talk about it a little bit
It's on
more.
the,
Yeah.
Aye.
Laura is just the interim, until we figure out what we're gonna do with that position, so. I've got it on the agenda.
That takes care of the new business, and we have nothing under reports or committees or announcements. So that comes down to adjournment of the reorganizational meeting for January 13th. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Got a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. We'll now open the regular Moose Lake City Council meeting for Wednesday, January 13th at 4 p.m. We have already done the Pledge of Allegiance, so we will move down to the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes or additions to the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to consent agenda, the minutes for the regular city council meeting, December 9th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to consent agenda, the financial reports. Number 1, the city accounts payable for December 2020. Number 2, the city financial statements, December 2020. And number 3, the liquor store profit and loss statement for December 2020. Any discussion, questions, or motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 3, public comment. This time we reserve for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. Appears we have no one present at this time. So we move down to departmental reports. The first report, the police chief department report for December 2020.
Mayor, members of the council, you should have attached is the police report for December. We had 140 calls for service. 14 of those calls for service were to MSOP and 3 to Department of Corrections. In addition to those calls for service, we spent approximately 30 hours on MSOP calls and 6 hours at the Department of Corrections. Again, you can see that's still fairly high, and as of today, I have another probably 16 files to go through for ECRC for DOC, meeting on Monday again, which eats up most of the day. So I was in talks with MSOP a little bit on some of the stuff again today and some of the procedures, the way things have been going. And the changes we wanted implemented still weren't happening. So had some talks with that again today, and we're still moving on, trying to come up with a better solution. I did make contact with the St. Peter Chief of Police to see how things were going there. Right now, we've already eliminated that going to the medicals there, unless it's going to be a high-risk situation of escape or something like that, then we, be notified and go there. They're still going to let us know that somebody might be in transport, but we're not going to be attending all those medical calls. You see on here is under the self-initiated, we had 14 for extra patrol, 26 traffic stops, 11 community engagement. Calls that we were responding to, we had 13 assist other agencies and 65 calls for service, along with 11 medicals. The last 3 reports that I've given, you can see drastic change just on how much things drop off just for the amount of time that we're spending on either MSOP calls and some of these other things. That's why we're making that push now to make some changes, because our extra patrol, our traffic stops, all those things start to suffer when we're getting tied up on those for long periods of time. So we'll keep moving with that. We're short a couple people right now, with Officer McNulty being out, and then Officer Surratt out on maternity leave. Hopefully he'll be back in March, but our full-time and part-time people have really stepped up and are helping us out a lot. We've got a pretty good list of people that pretty much jump in and do what they can, and our full-time people have been working some long days trying to cover, and the county's been helping out covering shifts that we can't cover. But a big thank you to those people for making this work. Just on an equipment thing, we have a couple of our rifles that are pretty old, and no, they don't even make anymore, and we had our last qualification where one started showing some issues and pretty much kind of needs to be replaced. Through Dead on Arms, who's Chad Walsh that works for us part-time, is the owner of that company. We were able to get a really good deal on the rifles. For a $1,200 rifle, they brought the price down to $734, gave us $350 a piece for our trade-ins. Did the free engraving with all our Moose Lake patch and everything on it, the slings and everything. We only had to pay $384 a rifle. It's a no-brainer not to move forward with that, so we did, and now we're set again for a while with some of that equipment. Our keyboards in the squads, we're starting to have a few issues with those. I knew the warranty was almost up. We sent those in, had them completely rebuilt, and we just got those back. It took them about 6 months to do, but they're back, and things are, going well there. As far as one of the things I wanted to do, I know when I started here, start tracking where our equipment is and where it's going. So now with everything that's been coming in, I had somebody from the county help out on setting up all of our stuff in Zerker system. And so we have our own, under the Moose Lake Police Department, whether it's fleet maintenance stuff that's going in there or equipment issued to any of the officers, what make it is, everything, their sizes, everything's in our system now. So when we have, especially now part-timers coming and going and trying to keep track of that stuff, I think over the years we've lost probably a lot of equipment because nobody seems to know where they're at. But now they'll be tracked in there, and besides the normal wear issues, equipment will get all the other stuff back. So other than that, I don't really have anything else unless you have any questions.
Fantastic, thanks, Darren.
All right, thank you.
Please pass it on to staff. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Very good. 4B, Public Works Superintendent Report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I have to say this is awesome to see everybody here and not looking at you all on the computer screen. This is great. This is good stuff. I'm liking it. So, water department, we'll start there. Distributed 3.7 million gallons drinking water in the month of December. That well house project is still coming along. There's a lot of interior work just starting, just getting going. Everything still looks to be on schedule, so that is good. The biggest thing I got to touch on under the water department is the frozen water and sewer line policy. It is winter, it is cold out. We need to keep an eye on your water temps in your house so your services do not freeze. That is a pain for the water customer, the taxpayer, and then the public works department as well, and the city as a whole. There is, I believe our water and sewer policy is on city Facebook page or the website, one or the other.
I might have to put it back on our website. I know it was, but it might have expired.
Okay, so everything you need to know is in that policy. If you don't understand it, if you can't get to it, if you need help with anything, please call. I would much rather spend my time helping residences get that figured out so they are protected and everything is good, and it cuts down on overtime and everything. It's just great. So it's all good stuff here. So yeah.
Have we had a lot of frozen lines?
We did have one last Saturday, actually. Yep. And that was kind of a different situation. It's a shallow service on an exterior wall of a building. It actually froze above grade. They were able to get it thawed out inside the building. Water came back on, everything was good, so.
So it wasn't in one of our problem areas?
Correct, yep, correct. And it's essentially completely different than the normal areas that we typically look at. So we did start some monitoring just to kind of keep an eye on what's going on, and did some community outreach with customers to see where they're at for water temperature, see how close they're getting, where we're gonna be at here in a couple weeks, that kind of thing. So it's just the same old stuff we do every January. We start getting ready for it, so. All the fire hydrants, I thought somebody had a question, sorry. All the fire hydrants have been, the snow's been removed around them. Had a little downtime here this last week, so we got that all taken care of. Sewer department collected 10.5 million gallons of wastewater in the month of December. We did have a December discharge at the sewer ponds. 17 million gallons was that one. All our parameters were met for the year. The PCA is happy. They like us a lot, so we're doing well. Lift stations were checked and cleaned in December. That went well. And then the street department, just snow and ice removal as usual. Frost depths are down around 30 to 36 inches. So, I mean, it's getting there. It's usually deeper than that by now, but we're getting there. And I think that's all I got for now. Go ahead.
Question. With these frozen water lines, do you have a list now of the worst two that we're gonna be tackling this spring or this summer? Because we have money set aside now to tackle a couple of these frozen water lines.
Yep, so I got a list of about 120.
Yes.
And there's, yeah, we could very easily get the first
Narrow
1,
it
2, 3,
down.
4, 5, absolutely. Yep, not a problem. We could look back at current lists as well that show they start running sooner than everybody else. It sticks out like a sore thumb. So,
Perfect. Thank
Yep.
you.
The one,
The number of places are 120?
The worst we ever had was 120. Yep.
Okay.
And I just kind of kept that list as kind of like a template to start with. So we just start going from the top, and as soon as we start getting calls or have to go out and respond, and they just get moved up, and we just track it year by year. I think I got records back to 2015. So,
I had thought that it was around 60 from
so
my memory of past meetings.
Sure. In 2012 and 2013, that winter, that was the worst one we ever have. Now, mind you, some of those didn't freeze, but they were running to prevent from freezing, and they're on the list because of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, the list sounds a lot worse than it really is, but it's all, at the end of the day, it's all stuff we have to keep an eye on. And it's all areas that we have to keep, watch up for us.
All right, thank you for that info.
Yeah, no problem.
how has Mr. Stevens?
I haven't heard anything on that. In fact, I haven't heard anything.
Good or bad?
Yeah, neither. So I know we have some restoration work to do in the spring from the excavation and then the blacktop patch there as well.
Sure.
But other than that, I haven't heard anything good, anything bad, so.
Great.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks to your staff, too.
Yep.
Back to 4C, technology and library report.
I have the library board minutes from November included. Actually, I think they're from December, but they say November. The other items, library related, are agenda items later on, so.
We should mention the new hire. Temporary. A replacement, when?
We'll talk about that
Okay.
later on. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Rory, any update?
We're just working on getting a new system, all the bugs out, and it's working great content-wise. We're playing bingo every day other than Sunday, and that's been pretty popular up at the Augustana.
Great.
If it doesn't happen, I guess the people let them know, so.
Revolt at nursing home?
That's right, that's right.
Okay. Let's get Darren involved here, I guess. Thank you very much.
Yep.
4C, city engineer report.
You guys have the minutes from the last meeting here. Just a couple of things I want to touch on. The Highway 73 Trail Project, the Phase 1 is what we're calling it, will be hopefully as an agenda item for February to go out for bid for this spring. That's still being worked on. The other big thing that we talked about was the Phase 2 grant application. That was a fairly large application. We got that submitted on Friday. So that was a bit more time intensive than I thought it was going to be, but got it done. So those were a couple of the bigger items that we touched on. Anything else that you can think of that? Everything else is just, well project is continuing on and
going to mention about the report or any data on the grant going in for the extension going up from 10 to the East Trail.
Oh, the phase 2?
Yeah.
That's the transportation alternatives grant. I don't really have an update on it. Like I said, we just submitted it on Friday, so I would hope that we would find out, I don't know.
Just for
months.
everyone's knowledge that Katie's working on another grant.
Yeah, and the funding wouldn't be available until 2025, so we would have plenty of time to find other funding and figure out how we're gonna pay for the rest of it, so.
Possibilities.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Chamber of Commerce updates. Of course, the meeting was rescheduled. It was supposed to be at noon today, and it's rescheduled, I believe, for the 20th.
Yep, next week.
Is it open to members yet, or is it still being conducted on Zoom?
I saw it was on Zoom.
It's still gonna, I think they're still gonna have it on Zoom, but anyone can attend.
Anyone can
Yep.
attend? Okay.
Yep. Just email Allison or call her and ask to get the link whenever they have that ready.
Moving on to number 5, the previously discussed business. 5A, the arena lease agreement with the school district.
Nothing changed in this aside from the dollar amount. We increased theirs $5,000, just like we increased the Hockey Association's $5,000. I don't have anything else for this.
We need to approve this agreement, so we need a motion.
And this has been approved by the school district, so.
So we have a motion on the arena lease agreement with the school district.
So moved.
Do you have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'd like to thank also Katie on the work on that lease agreement, getting them to increase the amount on the lease, $5,000. That's the single largest increase that we've had for a good 10 years or longer. Since the flood, for sure. And I don't know even before that if we had that much
Yeah.
single increase. So,
I didn't look back that far, but
yeah, thank you.
yeah.
On 5B, campground software.
This is what I'm excited about. So I looked at 2 different companies. You guys have their brochures in your packet. The first company is CampSpot, the second is Astra. Essentially, they offer the same services. What I was most concerned with was the back end of it for our staff on booking reservations and whatnot, on user-friendly, even if it was just graphics. To me, the CampSpot one was a bit more user-friendly. I did demos for both of them. The big difference between the 2 is CampSpot charges $2 per reservation, whereas the other one, they have a different fee structure. I think one of the options is paying like $900 and then a monthly maintenance fee of $150. The nice thing about all of the fees is that we can push them all on to the customer. So we can build things in there that we charge $2 of a reservation fee or whatever we want to call it to the customer. So if we go with CampSpot, we literally wouldn't be paying for anything. So I would recommend we go with CampSpot. Just from the demos that I did, like I said, it was way more user friendly. I don't know, it seemed.
What is that total figure on going with that software?
Nothing.
That's free.
Yeah, $0. The only thing that
It's
they
the
charge.
built-in fees to go, okay.
Yep. $2. That's the only fee, is the $2 charge.
Wanted to make sure everyone understood that.
So we'd have to set it up and design it the way we want it?
So the setup is free. I think they take like a bird's eye view of the campground and they make it all digitized. I think there's some examples in here of what they have. Maybe not. That might be on something else that I have, but they take it and they digitize it and they literally create. Phil and I went, was it a couple weeks ago, and we measured all the campsites. So then we put that information in there. You have a 50-foot, 40-foot, whatever camper, and we only have a 25-foot spot. Well, then it says you can't fit there. So they build it out for us. We just have to provide them, obviously, the information. So yeah, that's what I would suggest going with CampSpot. The nice thing about either one of these is that if you don't like them, you can switch the companies. I think you have to give like a 30-day notice or something, but.
So open it up for questions, discussion, or motion? Yes, sir.
Which one did, when you were discussing it with companies, was the easiest to, your communication with?
They were both pretty similar. I think I just want as simple as possible for the people that are going to be using this, and I think that's CampSpot. We don't need a super advanced software with all the bells and whistles. I just need to be able to make a reservation, and I want the customers to be able to make a reservation without having to call us, to eliminate that, I guess, the staff for that.
Would there be an option for people to call
Yep.
and to do it
Yep.
in person?
Mhm. Yep.
Because I was just thinking some people might not have the knowledge of how to use the computers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think from my conversations with both companies, it seems that more and more campgrounds are going staffless. So they don't have an option for you to call in. You literally, if you want to camp, you have to figure out how to use an online booking system. I don't know that we want to go that extreme, but I do think that we could cut back on the number of hours, our office hours.
Well, and a person that camps, it's nice because if you can't get a hold of somebody, you want to make a thing on Sunday,
Yep.
you can just go online and make your reservation. You're not waiting for somebody to answer the phone.
None of the places that I camp, I call. I don't call any of them. So,
And it would be available 24/7
Yeah.
year-round,
Yep.
even during the winter.
yep.
Because
And the nice thing is if we don't have any reservations for the month of December, we don't get charged anything. Whereas this Astra one, we get charged, if we choose this Model B, we get charged $150 a month. So,
And then one that you, like Katie, I looked at some of that too, it allows us to add the other maps and stuff in there for the ATV trails and all that kind of stuff, so
Yep.
we could upload those into it.
and you can upload like your rules and everything like that, and those automatically get emailed to them, so there's no excuse that you didn't get them because you got them with your reservation.
that's a nice feature.
Is there plans to get a card reader in the building for the other expenses there, like Peter buying wood or?
Yep, I think that either one of these companies has a point of sale system built right into it. Yep, correct.
Great.
Yep. Either one we go with, we're gonna do fine with, but I just think the CampSpot one is easier on the staff end for the customer, and they both were very similar. It's pretty simple to book it's just like booking a hotel, so.
Council?
I'll make a motion, we go with the CampSpot system for the campground.
Second.
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. So, when will you start this, Katie? I suppose I have to go immediately because we'll probably start getting calls on.
So I think kind of my game plan with it is I want to see how long it takes them to build out the customer side of it, but I'm fairly certain they said that we could start entering in the current reservations that we have almost immediately, so long as they have the site information, which we've got all ready for them. I just have to send it to them. So I'd like to get started on this as soon as possible.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to new business, 6A, the Lakehead Constructors Pay Application number 2.
So this pay application is $97,755 through 12/30, so through the end of the year.
Any discussion or questions and/or a motion for pay application number 2? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carried. 6B, cemetery fee schedule.
So just some back story. The typical grave, I'm gonna say it wrong, but the grave diggers were Mark Faber and George Holt. They are no longer going to be digging graves. They are not interested in doing that service anymore. So we've been in contact with Mike Kozlowski from the funeral home on if this is something that we could take over, what it would look like, how we would work together with them, whether this was something we logically could even do. After conversations that I had with Mike, Phil had with Mike, we're gonna give it a shot if it's okay with you guys. I don't know if you wanna touch on this at all. At first, we will both admit that we were a little apprehensive on taking this on. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I want to try it, and I want to try it because I want to try to eliminate our expenditures of our maintenance at the cemeteries, sorry. I think if we can overcome some of that expense, we spend a lot of money to make those look nice. Spend a lot of money. And I want to give it a whirl. If we can even cut that number in half, that's half of what we're taking from the general fund to pay for this. It's going to be different. It's going to be something new. But I think we'll bring the same level of, definitely a huge level of respect to this for our community, for our cemeteries, the people in this community. But I think we'll bring the same good service and good maintenance we bring everywhere else at town. And I think it's something that we can try. And we have an option if this doesn't work, we can back out of it. There's other options. But I think we got to try because we spend a lot of money there, a lot.
On average, I think we budget between $12,000 and $15,000 for wages and para and FICA and things like that in the cemetery. Not to say that that number is going to be zero in the future. I just think that this is a way that we can shorten the gap, lessen the gap of property tax dollars that are funding this. If we can successfully do this,
Yep.
I think it's going to be a game changer for this department. And everything that we've touched in that cemetery, both of the cemeteries, have just improved. So I think that we could continue to do this as a service to our community. So I guess thoughts on that before I move forward.
Yeah, as far as the cemetery board was, we thought that this would be going a lot towards making the cemetery a lot more viable for the city. You know, obviously there's been a gap in funding for that having to get it out of, does it come out of the general fund? And this would go a long ways towards making the cemetery profitable in a way, bringing in a lot more money. And we were definitely, wondering what Phil would have to say about this. We realized that this was a big thing for you to take on, and the cemetery board is definitely very grateful to you for agreeing to try this. And like you said, if it doesn't work out, we can always go to finding somebody else. But the cemetery board would like to thank you and Katie and Mike for going through this and coming up with these figures for the grave openings and that stuff. So I'd just like to say we do think it goes a long ways to making it viable.
I just got one question. With a lot of funerals on a Saturday and weekend, you're well aware of that, which will take up probably more than a couple hours on the weekend.
Yeah, we have a few things in place how we can work a good portion of this around to keep it within Monday through Friday hours and have very minimal done on Saturday or Sunday. And there's ways around that. There's ways around it, and we've talked about the costs of that when we built this fee schedule for that to cover some of those, you know what I'm saying? I will say this, I don't know, if we don't try it, we don't know. And if we say no, we might never get the chance to do this again. So I think we gotta try it.
Okay.
And I think it would be a good thing for the city to do for its community.
All right, it's a little change in operation. Do you want any kind of motion or anything, or do you want just
I just want to go
consensus?
through, this will be all added to the current fee schedule that we had, but this just happened to be the only change on the fee schedules that I wanted to make. So I'm just going to go over it really quickly. The grave purchase price was $450, and Mike Kozlowski said that $500 was completely normal, right in the average ballpark of what other places are charging. We went with $650 for a traditional funeral, April through October. For cremation, $200, and then for winter we are charging $1,200 for a traditional funeral. The spring cleanup, if it's needed, depending on when it is, what the weather is like, will be $100, and then if we have to go in and blow snow, that's $300. So a total of $1,600. And all of these are take into account if it's on a weekend or after hours, which we set our after hours, I think, at 3:30, 2:30 maybe. We will tack on another $250 to cover staff overtime and para and FICA and things like that. And then the cremation is $500 for the burial. The spring cleanup is $100, snow removal is $300. A lot of this all is just going to be new for us and is going to just require a lot of communication with the funeral home, the local funeral home, and Phil. So if this gets to be too much, we will communicate that.
Let you know.
But I do think that, I agree, we need to try.
Yeah, I don't think the option is gonna come around next year or the year after that. I think we have to, we've all sat here and said how tax exempt this town is, and we need to try any way we can to even do this much. It makes a huge difference. But we gotta try it. We're not losing anything if we do. Can't do it, we can't do it.
I will say, we might lose a little, but,
Well.
so the other part of this is that in order to do this, for winter burials, you have to obviously thaw the ground. So there is one estimate, and I can approve it, I just wanted to be transparent that there is going to be a little bit of equipment that we will have to purchase. So this being one of those things. It's a frost remover for $1,400. So all of these types of supplies, Mike Kozlowski, I think, will help us research and figure out which one is the best for our community. So I just want to be transparent with you guys.
All right. Are you looking for consensus or a motion on this?
Motion.
All right, so council?
Did you ask Mike if he wants his advertising on the thawer, and he can pay for it?
I didn't. I should have.
You're talking about money.
I should have. I didn't even think of that.
Gotta listen to him.
I didn't even think of that. You should have.
Finnish pride coming through. If not, we can make a motion to purchase it.
And then I also need a motion to amend the fee schedule.
Okay, what do you want first?
I really think I just need the amendment, the fee schedule amendment.
All right. The council has heard, do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I think we should ask for consensus on this change also. This added work to the position description. So we have consensus in this endeavor?
Yes.
Greg? Looks like we have consensus, so it's a go.
You got another job. Phil.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Adam, you bet.
don't go anywhere.
Did you guys leave this chair up here for me?
We're talking about the skilled labor one job description?
Yep.
That's next.
Correct. Well, Wayne will be retiring in May, so I was hoping to get approval on advertising for the skilled labor one position by the end of this month. I would like to do that. We did amend this a little bit from, not much, but a little bit from the last time, well, when Wayne was hired.
Do you need to add in now the cemetery stuff, or does it fall under
Think
other?
about that.
Does it say other
I
duties as
rewrote this
assigned?
before this whole thing came
It
up.
does say perform snow and ice removal, so I don't know if that's part of the and defrosting.
Maybe
of
we
the-
should add in there other duties as assigned.
I think I put that one in there.
You
That's, that's always a good one to
It's
add.
covered under, anything you're
Yeah.
asked to do as far as
Yeah.
skills or duties, it'll cover that.
I think the important thing in here that maybe isn't listed in here, but certainly something Phil and I have talked about, is eventually, I think Phil and I would both like to get to a point where maybe Phil doesn't have to take as many on-call shifts as he does. And so with that being said, starting this person off with the knowledge that eventually it could be that every other weekend, the laborer 1 and laborer 2 position have to trade off, or every 2 weeks, or however they want to work it. I know we didn't talk about bringing that up,
We're
but,
putting it in here just as an option.
Yeah.
Not saying we have to go to it, but it's in here in case.
and certainly right
down the
away we
road,
wouldn't be
If
able
we have to
to.
go with some sort of different structure throughout the department, we have the ability to do so.
That's where you two guys work that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
You work that out, bring it to us, and if it's just a minor change, I don't know if the council needs to even approve that because of the way the job descriptions, all of them are.
I think the big thing that we want to hold this position accountable is to obtain their Class D wastewater.
And I'll touch on that if you
Yeah,
don't
go
mind for
for
a
it.
second. The ability to obtain within 24 months, it's 24 months because you need a minimum of a year working in the field before you can even start going to classes to get your licenses. I know 24 months seems like a long time, and it is, but the first year just kind of doesn't come. So that's why that's in there.
You're looking for a motion to approve this job description, correct? And you want to advertise at what time?
By the end of the month.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think we need to advertise right away, but I would like to have it close right around the middle of February.
It closes around February, hopefully hired by the end of March. And he's done and May 1st.
I'm hoping to bring this to council for the March meeting for a decision on hiring. So that we can get this person in by April, so that we have a month to train.
All right. Council, motion?
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
1 second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to 60, dump truck plow quotes.
So there's only one quote for a dump truck plow because it is state bid. We budgeted for this for a capital item. Do you have anything that you would like to add on this subject? We budgeted for more than enough.
Jim?
Question by the council? Motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is this good, we're still good for the storm coming?
Oh yeah, we're good. We're good. We're just replacing one that's like 14 years old, so.
Good. 18-foot utility trailer quotes.
I'm gonna let Phil explain this.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't ready for this one. I have 4 seasonal temporary employees. I have 6 lawnmowers. We have places everywhere that we mow, all over, every direction. I would like to kind of reconsolidate that part of it. I'd like this trailer to be able to put 2 employees, 2 pieces of equipment, weed whips and whatever else they need to literally bounce around and do all these areas. Because right now I have a person here, a person there, a person there, and a person over there, and that's just what they do, and I think we can do much better than that. It's, this whole thing is kind of getting put together with this campground thing, because we're gonna be taking over all the maintenance of the campground as well, which I hope everybody knew that. Right, yeah, okay, good. So we're gonna be bouncing all over the place, and this just makes sense to be able to move things around. Show up here, do this today, show up there, do that tomorrow, vice versa, whatever, so on and so forth.
So one of the ideas is to send 2 guys to the cemetery, have them knock it out in a day. The other part of this that we're still working on a little bit behind the scenes is getting CIP to commit to helping us 1 day a week, whether it be at the cemeteries or at the arena or whatever, having them commit to 1 day a week working with our city staff to do things like weed whipping, and even if we have some mowing or some maintenance at the cemetery or the arena, whatever. All of that, I think, will help save and consolidate our resources, meaning our staff. So 1 day they're at the cemetery, the next day maybe they're at the campground, and then doing some park maintenance. I mean, we can set a team of 2 to do something. There's not very many things that one guy can do by himself. So I think having a team of 2 will help, but they don't have equipment right now to haul.
That's the one thing we lack in. We got plenty of equipment, we just gotta get it there. We added the cemeteries last year. We're adding the campground this year. Essentially trying to take our group of staff and combine them and get a better result is my plan. So there's 2 quotes in front of you for that.
Do you have a preference? Because it looks like quotes are the same.
We do have one local business here. That's obviously your guys' call. They are the same exact trailer. Same maker, same model, same everything.
Okay. Question by the council or motion?
I'd say take the one local. I'll make a motion to purchase the local.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, but I have a question as far as budgetary items. It wasn't in the budget, I take it, so.
It was not in the budget. This plow came in under budget,
How
so
much? It was 10,000 something. How much was it under budget?
I think we budgeted 20. So,
Stockpiling a little money there, huh, Phil?
It's going quick. It's only January, Doug.
All right.
We have a second. Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to 6F, Resolution 21-01-01. This is a 73 maintenance agreement, Phase 2.
So with the Transportation Alternatives Grant that we applied for last week, we need to pass a resolution agreeing that we will maintain that trail should it go in. So that's what this is.
And we've had to do this on the other trails in past years. It's nothing new.
We're gonna be doing it on the first phase next.
Right.
So,
So does that mean replacing tar and asphalt and things of that
yeah,
nature?
I would, yeah.
Just like we do with our bypass to the west, and I think the east too, as long as that trail is on the east side, that also.
I don't believe any of these trail systems, we have a line item in our budget for that. That might be something that we should look at.
I'll have to check on that. I think we do have a trails,
There is a trail fund.
There's a
Yeah.
trail fund, but I mean, are we,
I'll have to look.
Yeah. That's, to me, that's something that every time we do it, except for small repairs, we would be looking for grant money, I think, before we tackle any big.
I wonder too if it's something that,
Purchase.
now that we're doing our own patching, if that's something that we could look at,
that's true.
you know,
Sure.
I guess I never thought of that, but.
It's like the 73 west here, or the bypass west, that's, what did we get, 150,000 on grant on that. And to me, that's what we had to do for all of them, anytime that comes up,
Yeah, I just worry about the expense that it could be
Yeah.
if we do not have a grant.
right?
And if we do not
If
have a
we,
plan.
and if we had a really bad washout or something, it'd be up to us to close it until we did get the money or funds to be able to fix it. So that's something that would be our responsibility. It always has been, but to me, we almost should have done it on the bypass one up here. But people seem to go okay on the dirt. But anyway, do we have a motion on resolution 21-01-01?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6G, resolution 21-01-02, the 73 maintenance agreement, phase 1.
This is the same thing, but for the section of trail from Lakeshore Drive up to the roundabout, well, up County Road 10.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. H, Teamsters Local 320 Union Agreement, January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023.
So this, you guys have a copy of the labor agreement that the union members agreed to. Nuts and bolts of the changes were, we agreed to a 3.33% increase each year, 21, 22, 23. A small increase in any training hours that the guys have of, I think, 25 cents. I think that was it.
Those were the changes from the
Those-
previous one?
Yep, those were the two big changes. I can't think of any other.
Yeah, there's been a lot of requests, of course, we've been going back and forth.
Yep.
This is how it is. Questions by the council and a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the police officers Teamster agreement for January 1st, 21 through December 31st, agree.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. I want to thank Aaron for working on this too, and Chris and Katie to get this accomplished. There's a lot of stuff in this contract, and a lot of things were asked for and go back and forth, and it turned out really well, I think, for all concerned. So it's a good job. Moving on to 6I, Shelby resignation.
So Shelby, I think she gave this to me like right after our last council meeting. So she's actually already gone, but nonetheless, we do have to approve her resignation. I don't know if we want to cover it now, but Laura Helwig is taking over in the interim. She will be working 4 days a week. If she needs a little bit more, I'm okay with her working a couple hours extra on whatever day, just so long as the desk is covered. I checked in with her yesterday, I believe, and she seemed to be doing okay. The library board did meet to discuss how they want to fill the position. So since COVID, the numbers, I don't have any of the numbers in front of me, but the numbers have dropped, obviously. People aren't going out and about nearly as much as they used to. And so what we talked about was hiring for a part-time, 4 days per week, library director. And that very well, I mean, Laura may be interested in applying for that job, and waiting to see, not necessarily ruling full-time completely out, but see what the next few months bring us. I don't want to not hire a library director because I don't want Laura to just be hanging out there waiting for this to happen if it's going to happen. So that's what we talked about. The library board was okay with going that route, so hiring for a part-time library director with the understanding that it will be reviewed after 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months. It's a full-time position is completely budgeted for in their budget, so I'm not opposed to it. I just don't know that the need is necessarily there at the moment. So that could all change when they start planning events for summertime. I think they're planning on doing a lot more like outdoor in the park events. So that will certainly take a little bit more time, but that's what we had talked about. So I told them that I would bring all of that information here for you guys to make a decision on.
And I think that's a good decision myself. When we had up over 50,000, how would you say that, activities by customer coming in, which we're now down to, are we between 20 and 30,000?
I don't even know.
It has dropped tremendously in the past couple of years, but even then, at over 50,000, we only had a part-time librarian with part-time help, and that ran just fine. I'm not against anything either, but I think we would really want to look at it to go full-time again.
I do think if it does stay part-time, like permanently after however 3-4 months we look at this and we decide we want to keep this part-time, I do think that hiring an additional part-time employee will help them quite a bit. And we'll still be saving all of the insurance costs. So I do think that that's something that we should consider, just because right now they're working 1 day or one person per day. So it's really hard to be away from the desk and get anything else done. Just something to think about for the future.
What is the COVID thing for them right now? Is it, do they do an account and only so many?
I think they're allowing up to 10 people in
10
the
people.
library. Yeah.
We don't know when that'll change either.
That's not required by the state or anything. I think that's just what they
They were
were
comfortable
comfortable with.
with?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I don't think that number has changed since they reopened. So.
So I guess the first item is accepting Shelby's resignation letter. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the rest of it, does the council have any input on what Katie just described as operation? Hearing none, I guess we'll move on. I can move ahead as how we were thinking.
So,
Planning.
you guys are okay with me advertising for hiring for a part-time? And I don't think that the job description will change much from Shelby. That was just a couple of years ago. So if it needs any updating, I'll send it out to you guys before I advertise for it. I don't think there's any huge rush to it. I just kind of want to put Laura at ease. I know this was kind of a jump for her. So, but yeah, I'll just kind of keep you guys in the loop as to what goes on.
And that's under J, so we'll move on past J. It sounds like you have a consensus with the council. Under 6K Convention Center Relief Grant.
So I don't know if this was a stretch or not, but I applied for it. I don't even know how they're allocating it all, but I applied for this for the arena with the understanding that we obviously didn't have Agate Days last year, nor did we have the gun show or the business expo, any of those non-winter activities in the summer of last year. So I applied for it. The guy even emailed me back saying, hey, this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I was like, well, it took 5 minutes, so what the heck.
Doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah.
Appreciate you looking for
Yeah.
Yes.
those kind of.
You did highlight that we're down 94.6%.
Oh, yes, actually, I forgot to fill out one of the boxes, and so I had to resubmit it, and I was like, no, in fact, I did not make a mistake. I meant to email this to you.
Very good, thank you. Do they have a date on when they'll make a decision?
I think that we are last on the list, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get anything. I just thought, I didn't get a date either, so I have no
Doesn't
idea.
hurt to try. I
Yeah.
think we have tried. There's a time like every single year for like 6 years for anywhere from 500,000 to over $1 million on for upgrading the arena and making additions, and we've never been selected for anything before. We did get the Mighty Ducks grant
A couple years ago.
a couple of years ago. That was the only thing, but nothing from the state where other arenas have.
Yeah,
For years they have, and we never have.
the Mighty Ducks grant, I had heard that they were gonna be coming out with a new Mighty Ducks grant for 2021 in January. I haven't seen anything yet, but we will be applying for that for the compressors.
Right.
Should they ever advertise for it? But I haven't seen anything, so.
Thank you. Yeah, well, point of sale ordinance discussion.
So this particular ordinance was passed by the Moose Lake Windermere Sanitary Sewer District. This is not necessarily the exact same document that I would like to pass, it's just an example. I want to know if the council is interested in Phil and I researching what other communities have for a point of sale ordinance. Essentially what would happen in a real life example is if Ted is going to sell his home, before it can transfer ownership, the sewer line needs to be inspected by a contractor. It's just another step, just like a building official would come and inspect the home for building issues. A contractor would come, televise the sewer line. That data would then get sent to Phil. Phil would either pass or fail it, depending on what he sees. Basically, if there's a giant crack down the middle of it, it's gonna fail and it needs to be replaced before this transfer of the ownership goes from Ted to whomever is buying the home. So the costs of those things can be worked out however the homeowner and the buyer agree to it. It doesn't necessarily all fall on the current homeowner or all fall on the buyer. It's however they agree to it. A lot of communities are doing this around here. All the WLSSD customers, City of Carleton, Cloquet, Thompson, they all have these. This is not uncommon. I know Tim talked about it a year ago, and it didn't go anywhere from there. I don't know if that was, I can't remember if you guys weren't interested or if maybe Tim just didn't push it. Just wanting to know whether you guys want me to look into this further.
Discussion by the council?
Well, this would be saving the city the amount of water that they're sending up to the sewer ponds by the homeowners having to replace this.
Yep, so essentially when you have a crack in your sewer service line, rainwater or moisture or anything goes into whatever crevice it can find and it gets pumped out to the ponds, and then we're treating that. So that's the I&I issue that we have.
Yes, Greg.
So if we have to be inspected, and if it ends up not being on their property, then we have the expense. The city has the expense.
No, actually, in our frozen water and sewer policy, which is also the ownership policy of lateral lines, it describes that the sewer line is the owner of the property it serves, including the connection of the main, to the connection of the main. Yeah. I will add one thing on this. You guys, the city, are doing your part by upgrading your infrastructure with all this lining, and we're spending big money doing it. Now, the second part of this is the lateral line. So we can do all the main in the world, but if the laterals aren't done, essentially it's not doing any good. The other thing too I'll add is typically these ordinances are brought up by the treatment facilities, which is us, and not by the secondary users, I guess I would say. Typically you see that. So I mean, kind of the shoe is on the wrong foot here a little bit, but I mean, it is what it is.
It's a good thing that the sewer district passed this,
Yes.
but we should have passed it first and made them pass this, is what.
Typically is how
Yep.
you normally see that.
Yep, like WLSSD requested the city of Carleton to pass this, and they did. So,
The first initial, and I think is why we dropped it here, is the request was to inspect them within a certain length of time, and they would have to be fixed in a certain length of time. Where this is at the sale of the property, this is different than what was first brought to us. And I think that's why we didn't even look at going farther. This is different.
Yeah, the other side of this too that Phil and I have talked about is when we start doing a road project, let's say we're gonna redo 4th Street, that's the first street on the CIP list. If we know and we decide we're gonna do 4th Street in 2022, Phil and I start knocking on doors and say, listen, now is a really good opportunity to have your sewer and water service, if it's that old, replaced. We're gonna have a contractor, I don't know how much it'll be different for everybody, the cost, but it's never gonna be cheaper than that. That's a golden opportunity. While everything is ripped up and your yard looks like crap, might as well do everything all at once. So we will take the initiative to do that once road projects start, and that will help our I&I issue also, but I do think that, I mean, we're not gonna be able to do all the roads in 10 years or whatever, so.
Is there a time limit that the homeowner or buyer has to comply with this to have it replaced?
So the city of Carleton did theirs, I can't remember when they passed it, but they said, I think theirs was January 2020 they passed it, so they must have passed it sometime in 2019. So essentially you just give a few months notice, 6 months notice to the homeowners. I got a letter, so we could send it out with the water bills. And I don't want to pass this, I don't have anything prepared to pass tonight. I just want to know if I should spend time drafting something for us.
I could agree with the point of sale, but not where you're forced to go do it right now and have a deadline. But the point of sale, that's different.
Well, and maybe this is what was asking is, so if we're requiring them to do it at the point of sale, is it have to be done prior to closing then? I mean, is
I
it
would say
a,
yes.
I would imagine it would, yeah.
That's part of the requirements that would have to be done.
We might have to look at that, because if it gets into winter,
We'll have to ask.
we'll
let's
have
ask
to do
Darren.
some digging on that one, because I mean,
Yeah.
you could be essentially paying 4 or 5 times more to replace the same item in December as you would in June.
I think too, I was telling Phil this earlier today, I would say like 1 or 2 homeowners each year contact me about the requirements of replacing their service lines. So people are taking the initiative in doing this themselves, which is great. I just think that this almost forces them to solve the problem, but the winter thing, I don't know. I don't know if they allow the close of sale and then you have, I don't know.
Yeah, we could look into that, because
Yeah.
they could get really carried away.
Yeah.
Really carried away.
But what I would hate to see is us pass this, a winter sale happen, and then it never gets replaced.
Well, I mean, it's like anything else, if it's followed up on properly and the checks and balances happen, I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, I think the city's doing their part, and now I think it's time to really start going and get this whole thing as a citywide issue, at least we're working on it. That's just my 2 cents, so.
I would
I don't
also-
have a problem, excuse me, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I would also add into it, besides at the point of sale, I would also add into it, if we're going to be doing a major infrastructure project like you did 4th Street, that would also be not just knocking on their doors and saying, will you? It'll be, no, you will. At this point, if we find it to be bad, it will be replaced. It's not, will you replace it? Because we are putting that money in the infrastructure, and we're still gonna have I&I issues.
Yeah. We'll have to talk to the engineers if they have policies on, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they've got policies on service lines. So whenever we do a big project, we just have to make sure that those policies are in place before
Yes, and if it's a hardship, then it could also be put on, assessed
Yep.
over a long period of time, so people that are not able to pay for it could.
Yep. Yep.
Do we have consensus from the council?
I'm fine with that.
Yes. Right?
We'll start working on something.
Consensus, thank you. 6M, Arrowhead Transit contract.
This is just the renewal contract from Arrowhead Transit. I know I normally get a count of people that use this. I didn't get that. I requested it, but I don't know that I ever got it. I would imagine the numbers are down. But I also will say that I'm not sure if Arrowhead Transit got funding from the state during COVID, but we have not gotten a bill from them probably since June. So
Are the buses still running?
I
They are.
believe so.
They are.
I'm just thinking maybe they're being funded by the state or the feds. I don't really know. All I know is I'm not getting a bill. So.
So, discussion by the council or motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I think, Ann, we're gonna skip over that right now, finish with the rest of the items, and then adjourn, close it, and go into closure, and then come back out and then adjourn. So we'll skip that part right now.
I didn't update this, so when you get to there.
Okay, thank you. In number 7, we have nothing under reports and correspondence. Number 8, committee and board meeting minutes. You have the Moose Lake Park and Recreation for December, the Moose Lake Planning Commission, December 10th, 2020, the Moose Lake Economic Development Authority for December 16th, 2020, the Moose Lake Area Fire District Protection District minutes for January 4th, 2021. Any questions or discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, the announcements. Katie made some corrections. Regular Moose Lake City Council meeting Wednesday, February 10th. I don't know if that is a Wednesday. I think so.
I think it is.
Yeah. February 10th at 4 PM, Moose Lake, okay, right here at the chamber. The Moose Lake Economic Development Authority, Wednesday, January 20th at 12 PM. Moose Lake Water and Light Commission, regular meeting Tuesday, January, is that 19?
Yep.
3 PM at the Water and Light Office. Moose Lake Housing and Redevelopment Authority Board, Monday, February 8th at 11 AM at the Hillside Manor Office. Moose Lake Area Fire District, Tuesday, February 9th at 6:30 Emergency Response Center. Moose Lake Park Board meeting Monday, February 1st, 6:30 right here in the chamber room. And with that, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn, and we'll go into a closed session. And then after that, come back out.
Motion to close.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, so we're in recess.